Just the problem for me when I'm speaking is that, especially if someone who's like Dr. Ram, a little bit taller than me, can you see me from behind this podium? You can all see me. I know you can all hear me. Sound is pretty good, but can you see me? Okay, I'm not the tallest guy in the world. The elements for me from what I kind of picked up out of that presentation, and it really is good. I finished playing cricket a really long time ago, so these sort of functions are really for me to come back and just think how wonderful I was, and it's great to reminisce. I really was not a wonderful cricketer. I was a fielder who had a lot of fun. So I am often asked, what does it feel like if you are, as a batsman, only remembered as a fielder? And I think after 20 years of being retired, it's actually nice to be known as anything, let alone, do I have a problem with the fact that people only remember me as a fielder and not with my contribution with the bat. And I really don't have an issue with that. It's quite interesting that people can still call backward point the Jonty area, especially here in India. When I am commentating or if I'm coaching with the Mumbai Indians and a ball goes down or somebody misfields it, I know straight away the cameraman is going to go like this. He's just going to hone in. So all those things I'm thinking, I obviously can't express. I'm not so good at that anymore. I used to have pretty much a deadpan face and try and keep the smile on, because I do know as a player, it's impossible to take every ball that comes your way. So I don't have that expectation on my teammates. They are my teammates at Mumbai Indians. As a fielding coach, I don't have that expectation. But yes, I'm looking at the process. Okay, so we work pretty hard as a fielding unit, and I look at their process. Because not everybody, like Dr. Ram, who stands up here, who's probably a lot better than me on the basketball court or on the volleyball, as a fielder at backward points, I bounced very easily. And I can see when I'm working with the taller guys, that when they prepare to catch the ball at practice, because they know it's coming to them, they can actually dive and catch most things. Because to get onto the Mumbai Indians, most of the players we have are international players or international quality players. To get to that sort of level, they have to have some sort of athletic ability. We had Munaf Patel a few years ago in the Mumbai team, so maybe not everybody is blessed with the same athletic ability, but we certainly are blessed with certain ball skills and talent that should be able to transfer to the fact that they can catch a ball if they are ready for it. So that's been my whole process and my sort of the work that I do with the Mumbai team as a fielding coach. But let me give you just some history on South Africa and on Jonty Rhodes and kind of where I got to today. And wearing hair like this, my father is a teacher, my mother is a teacher, although she's retired, my father is continuing at the age of 70 odd to be a teacher. So this is the reason why my hair is long, because growing up at school it was short, neat, and we in South Africa, I've seen a few young boys here get disciplined by their father or their older brother on the back of the head. I had a father who was entitled to, as a headmaster, carry a big stick around at school, about so long. And any boy that was stepping over the line, the regulations, was sent off to the headmaster to get a hiding. So the one thing you can't see behind this podium, I have a very built-in seat, okay, a very strong bottom, my buttocks. Can I say buttocks on this? Okay, buttocks is very powerful. So talk about speed, talk about power. Most of the strength comes from the buttocks and the thigh areas, but that was just a built-in cushion because my father was a headmaster and he was allowed to give you a hiding. And I'm one of 3 boys in the family. I'm the middle son of 3 boys. So you can imagine how much mischief we got up to, especially with balls going around the house, windows being broken. Often we stepped over the line and often we got a hiding. So I'm very grateful for the fact that I can dive around, thank you to my father's discipline and his ways of instilling that discipline in energetic young boys. But to go back to put you in a picture, in 1992 in South Africa, even though we were participating in the Cricket World Cup in Australia, we had toured India in September and October of 1991 on invitation by the Indian Cricket Board. South Africa was still in the apartheid government, which meant white and non-white people were separated. So whatever you did sport-wise, wherever you lived, cultures were not allowed to mix. It was against the law. So I grew up in that environment, never expecting to play cricket for South Africa because we were the pariah state, the pariah nation. Economic and sporting sanctions were imposed upon the country, and rightly so. because we were not living in harmony in an incredible country. So to get an invite, people asked me, was it a dream come true to play for South Africa? It wasn't even a dream. It wasn't even something that I had considered to do. Playing state cricket, playing state hockey for Natal, for the state that I was living in, that was the pinnacle of my career. And possibly that took pressure off me. That allowed me to enjoy myself. Because it wasn't this goal and driving that I was going to play cricket for South Africa one day. I think that's often a big concern for me when I come to India, or even back at home in South Africa. I get parents asking me, my son is 6 years old. Which academy must I send him to so that he'll play cricket for India or he'll play cricket for South Africa? And I ask him, well, what other sports is he playing? No. Just cricket, just cricket. He must be, there will never be another Sachin Tendulkar. Thank goodness for South African cricket. There will be never be another Sachin Tendulkar. But you're right, Dr. Ram, there is no comparison. I mean, the only time I didn't enjoy watching Sachin was obviously at backward point, when the ball was going past me all the time. The rest of the time, I loved to watch Sachin. But the point for me was that in South Africa growing up, we played tennis, we played football, we played cricket, we played rugby, we played hockey, and all those sports combined made me the cricket player that I was during my career. The problem I see with Mumbai Indians currently, the young Indian players coming through, they just play cricket. And if you're a batsman, you bat. If you're a bowler, you just bowl. As a fielding coach, I've got to go find those guys, pull them out, come spend 5 minutes with me. Come spend 5 minutes with me. But everything that they do is linear. It's in a straight line, which growing up with a headmaster as a father, I suppose you learn to stay within the lines. But these days, with what is at our disposal, and hopefully what's been taught here, is that you can't just think tunneled vision. You have to be aware of what's going on around you to be able to take what is good. Because the best way to learn for me, was learn from the mistakes of others. Sure, you want to be somebody who's an innovator. You want to be somebody who's leading the field, and I'll get to that in one of my points. But if you can learn lessons from people around you, if you're just focused on your own goal and what you want to achieve, I don't think possibly you will get there, but you will be continually making the same mistakes that people before you have tried and done. But because you're not seeing out and seeing what's around you and what's available, what other people are doing, what you can grow from, and that's probably the best thing about the video with India there. It sounded like I'd just been smoking or drinking something. It was, I think, in super slow motion. But the most amazing thing for me in India is that every time I travel somewhere, I mean, I had the option to fly here or drive for 9 hours. I took the 9-hour option drive because I want to see parts of India that nobody in Mumbai Indians team has seen before, and certainly that I have never seen before. So even though Mumbai Indians is no longer in the tournament, and one of the reasons why I have the day to come and spend some time with you here, I don't head back to South Africa. I want to be in India. I want to see as much of India as possible. Because even at 45, I've realized, in fact, probably only at 45, since I've retired from cricket, that the more you learn from other people, the more you learn about other people, the more you learn about yourself. So I'm fortunate in a process where I'm still growing. I haven't finished my career, that's over. Okay, now it's downhill from here. You know, you saw that picture came up as biker. The only place I ride a bike is in India because I don't have a license. Don't tell anybody. I don't know how to ride a bike. Don't tell anybody. Which fits in perfectly with India and the way you drive here, I think. Yeah. And the 9 hours from Coorg yesterday here, it just reinforced that view, is that I'm the perfect driver for India. I have no idea what I'm doing, which is fine, because it works. So it's important for me to be able to spend time in an environment where I'm not that comfortable, although I'm always I must confess, I am someone who doesn't have preconceived ideas. So whatever arrives, whatever is presented to me, I'm actually okay with it. Because it's not my story, this must happen, that must happen. Whatever happens, I'm grateful for it. And again, I'm grateful to my parents who brought us up in that line. We didn't have a lot. As teachers in South Africa, government salary, you don't get a lot of luxuries. But you certainly get good quality time together as a family, because every school holiday, we were together as a family. But going back to my introduction, when we toured Australia for the 1992 World Cup, We had no idea what to expect. And in a way, it was a good thing. We didn't know about the pressures. We had been playing state cricket, the whole South African team. We were all working. I was at university. The late Hansie Cronje was at university. Andrew Hudson, opening batsman at university. Everybody else was working. We had a David Richardson, who's the, I think, CEO of the ICC currently. He's a lawyer. He was, in fact, his legal firm was charging the cricket board for taking away their lawyer. He said, you can't take our lawyer away. We're going to bill you for his hours. So every tour that we went on, I think he was the only player. In fact, he wasn't getting the money. His firm was getting the money. They billed the cricket board for taking away the lawyer. So we grew up in an environment where we had no idea what to expect. We came down to Australia. Kepler Wessels, who he played in Australia and was now captaining South Africa. He realized that the fields, the grounds that they have there are multi-purpose stadiums. They play Australian rules football, they play rugby league. So the stadiums are very big, not just the stadiums themselves, but the outfields. So the team that came to India in September of '91 was a very old team. They were at least in their 30s. Here I am at 45 years old. Very old team, in their 30s. Kepler Wessels, Peter Kirsten were the oldest players in the World Cup team of 1992, and the rest were all youngsters. Kepler Wessels wanted young energy in the field. Unfortunately, as we know, my batting wasn't the best. It was very average, but my fielding was something that stood out, even back then, before coming to Australia in 1992. So Kepler Wessels got us in, put me, Hansie Cronje, younger guys, athletic players in the team, because he felt even if we were only averaging 20 or 30, we could make up and save a lot of runs in the field. But before the first match, we were playing against Australia. They were the defending champions, and they were the host country. Now remember, we were playing cricket in front of 5,000 people in South Africa. I mean, you probably get bigger crowds here in state cricket, in university cricket league in India. 5,000 people was the maximum crowd we had played in front of. Now we're playing in front of 35, 40,000 people at the SCG in Sydney. And it was being broadcast live around the world. So for us South Africans, it was a very new and quite a nerve-wracking environment to go from 5,000 people to millions of people in the stadium and worldwide. So what Kepler Wessels did as the captain of the team, he got a former Australian rugby coach, a chap by the name of Alan Jones, to come and talk to the team, the whole team, the night before the game. And it was quite interesting because, it was the first time a lot of us had played cricket together. We'd spent a month in Australia preparing for the World Cup. And speaking to the players after the tournament, in the years that we kind of forged a team that went together for the next 3 or 4 years. And every player that I spoke to, Alan Donald, Brian McMillan, got something different from that talk, which is a good thing because we're not all, I think that's the beauty of a team. It's 11 individuals who come together, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different cultures sometimes, especially now in the IPL, but have a common purpose and a common goal, is that to be successful for the team. But we're all individuals, and that uniqueness is required. You can't have 11 guys doing the same thing. Everybody has their role to play in the team, and as long as that's identified and given to you, you're comfortable. But everyone that I spoke to found something different from that talk. And what I found from that talk was that he said during his hour and a half, 2 hours with us, that every 60 seconds of the game, ask yourself, okay, for the next minute, what can I do for the team to help us win the game? So basically every minute of the game, ask yourself, what am I doing for the team to help us win? Which for us was a good thing because it took the focus off my own performance in front of millions of people. It allowed me to think of, even if I fail as a batsman, how else can I contribute to help the team win the game? And my role then, I had lots of energy. And at times, energy is an interesting thing. It's actually, nervous energy can be good and it can be bad. Adrenaline is what nervous energy is. Fight or flight. Do you want to be there or do you want to remove yourself from the situation? Nervous energy, adrenaline, if you don't harness that energy, it can make you very tense and very nervous, and you never play to your ability. If you can harness that, knowing that, sure, I'm feeling nervous, but a lot of the old players you talk to, Mike Hussey I speak to quite a bit now with Mumbai Indians, he is nearly 40, and he asked me, don't I miss playing cricket? And I said, well, not really. I'm still involved in a way. And he was saying he's going to miss cricket. The only thing he's not going to miss about cricket is that nervousness that he feels. And he has played hundreds of matches over many, many years with a great record. And he still gets nervous before he goes out to bat. And I think that nervous energy was something that I had as a 22-year-old, excuse me. And the captain and the coach recognized the fact that if this boy is not given a job, he's going to be just bouncing off the wall in lots of trouble and no help to the team. So they gave me the job of getting the players, because we had no spin bowlers in our team at the World Cup in '92. South Africans are renowned for pace bowlers. 1992 comes up, no spin bowlers in the squad. Thank you. You can see I'm sweating. But we had to get through the overs in a certain time. So my job was to get the players through. They didn't tell me how to do that. They just said, come on, Jonty, use your energy. So being a 22-year-old boy in the team with some very senior, bigger, older gentlemen, with my father as a headmaster, so lots of respect and discipline, as I said, in our household. I thought, how am I going to tell Alan Donald, Mr. Alan Donald, the fastest bowler in the world at that stage? Well, I called him the fastest white bowler in the world in 1992. But how am I going to tell him to, come on, Alan, hurry up. You're not fast enough. Because tomorrow in the nets, I've got to face him at practice. And he's going to bowl me bouncer after bouncer and say, Jonty, is that fast enough now for your liking? Macmillan, he was called Big Mac, or his nickname was Bucket hands. He had huge hands, great slip fielder. Anything that came his way, he would catch. So while he was bowling, if I tried to tell him, come on, Brian, hurry up, he would just hit me with one of those. Because as younger brothers, we were allowed to get hit in the team if the older brothers thought that it was warranted. So for me to try and tell Brian Macmillan to hurry up just wasn't going to happen. So I thought, okay, what I will do, I will go to the bowlers usually in those days, before IPL, the bowlers all fielded third man and fine leg to go rest there for one over between your bowling. I would run down to fine leg, I would get his cap, take it to the umpire. He would also, the problem was the wicket keeper would move the marker. So the bowler puts him, now they paint lines down on the ground. In those days you had a marker, a round plastic marker, a disc. When the wicket keeper got there, he would kick it away. So it would sometimes roll 4 meters away. So I would have to learn which bowler was at which mark. I would go fetch that, put it down, run to the umpire, give him the cap, get to backward point as the bowler gets ready to bowl. I had the energy. It saved us maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds, which doesn't seem like a big deal. But you add that up over 50 overs, and my maths is way past. It's a reasonable length of time, and it's generally what the captains were battling with, the 3 or 4 minutes that they lost towards the end of an innings. So I think that the point there for me is that it's not always the 4 and the 6s, the sexy stuff, the last over hat-trick or the last Malinga bowling at the death, or Narayan defending 10 runs, taking 2 wickets, winning the game for his team. It's not always the stuff that makes the headlines that contributes to the team's success. Sometimes it's the things that nobody else sees, and it's okay. And that was my role within the team, and it wasn't given to me. I had to work it out for myself, that this is a way that I can save time. And like I said, it wasn't very sexy. It never got into the newspapers, and no one else in the team knew about it. But it was the way that I got around, how do I get the players through that 50 overs in the time allotted? It was by utilizing the energy, because I certainly had it, still have a bit of it today, and making sure that it went towards the team achieving its goal. So for me, it was just a useful way to burn off that adrenaline and that unwanted negative energy. South African cricket went through an interesting era. We launched on the scene, and we were quite successful. We got to the semi-final at '92 World Cup. We then went through a period after Kepler Wessels had been the captain, that Hansie Cronje took over the captaincy. South Africa became a very powerful team in world cricket. Having come out of sporting isolation, no one had much idea of how good we would be. We suddenly became a very strong side. And it was quite interesting. We have, and I'm saying we, the South African cricket team, I'm still involved with the team in a way, is that we've got this tag or this name now as a choker. And it's interesting because every World Cup that we've played in, we've got to the semi-finals, and not every World Cup, quarter-final sometimes, we've never gotten to a final, and we've never won a World Cup. So we're one of the better teams in world cricket never to have won a World Cup. So the media like to call us chokers. And I've played in 4 World Cups. We never felt like we had choked in any of those, even though we didn't go on to win the tournament. But I'll tell you how that chokers label or tag arrived. Steve Waugh was captaining, in fact, Australia were the first country, as they often are in things, cricket-wise. They're very innovative. Steve Waugh was made for the first time, the captaincy was split. Mark Taylor was captain of the Test. Steve Waugh was then given the captaincy of the one-day team. Basically, Mark Taylor was dropped from the one-day team. Steve Waugh took over. And Mark Taylor, he's a commentator now. He's a very popular man in Australia. The public really like him. Steve Waugh, on the other hand, he was a very hard man, on and off the field, very uncompromising, knew what he wanted and go for it, and not very forthcoming, especially not in press conferences and with the opposition, unless you asked him a question. Then you could realize that he's actually got a great cricket brain. But he wasn't very popular with the press. So he put something, when he was asked about taking over the captaincy and how he's going to cope against South Africa, the number 1 ranked one-day team, he said, you know what, it shouldn't be too difficult. Everyone said, why? He said, no, he believes that the South African team are chokers. Pretty much what I'm doing now, are chokers. And we all went, what are you talking about? We're the number 1 ranked one-day team in world cricket. We're winning more games than anybody else. How can you call us chokers? But the fact that we started talking about it, because the crazy thing about cricket is that, if you think about it, you're facing Dale Steyn. Anybody, I mean, in Mumbai there's this, I think it's called Smash. You can go there and you can play cricket in an indoor center, and the bowling machine has a video of any bowler that you want. Malinga, Narayan, Dale Steyn, Brett Lee. You can load up the video and you can face them in an indoor center. So if you're facing Dale Steyn and he's just warming up, so he's bowling 150, and then he gets really angry and he's bowling 157, you don't have time to react. You don't get time to say, okay, I see the ball, I pick my bat up, I turn, and I hit it through the covers. There is no time in 0.1 of a second to react. It's actually muscle memory. And muscle memory is a lot of what happens in cricket. Because the same thing with the chokers. Steve Waugh put in, your thoughts become your words. So you think about something, you talk about it. Then you start doing that. And then those actions become a habit. And that's pretty much what cricket is. And sadly for us, I think, South African cricket players, we started talking about Steve Waugh. Who does he think he is? Telling us we're chokers. So we were actually mentioning chokers. Thoughts become words, words become actions, and actions become habit. I'm not going to ask anybody here, because you're all young, healthy-looking people. Nobody's obviously tried to give up smoking. Anybody tried to quit smoking? Okay, the cameras aren't on you. Anybody here? Anybody honest enough to say they tried to give up smoking? You're all too young and healthy. But it's a very difficult habit, apparently, to break. Habits are easy to get into, very difficult to break. You didn't mention Dr. Ram, you didn't mention Jacques Kallis. He's not a bad cricket player either, Jacques Kallis. All-rounder, not bad, batting and bowling. But when he is batting, and I'm batting with him when I was playing for South Africa, a very frustrating man to bat with. Because the commentators would talk about Jacques Kallis is now in the zone. In the zone. He's very focused. But when I was batting, it's a bit like I'm standing here, very fidgety. So trying to reverse sweep, pull this, do this, run this, yes, no, wait, go back. Lots of things happening all the time. Never in the zone. Never, ever in the zone. Jacques Kallis, focused, in the zone. And I always thought, well, it's very easy to say that, but possibly, for me, I'm always thinking of the next thing, and where to get the run, and where's there 2, and where's there a single. And if he drops it short, I'll hit him for 6, or I'll reverse sweep him for 4. So too much thinking. Jacques Kallis, when he was batting, no thinking whatsoever. See the ball, hit the ball, in the zone. But in my defense, I don't think Jacques Kallis ever thinks on or off the field. He's just that kind of guy. He's not a thinking man. Very successful, because he doesn't think too much on the cricket field. So that's my defense, where I was the guy always thinking, so not always in the zone. But that's for us. You know, you talk about, you often hear wish for the power of positive thinking. Is that wishful thinking? Is the power of positive thinking just wishful thinking? And you'll be surprised, because I have seen it, as I said. What you think about, what you speak about, you start doing, and that becomes a habit, and that actually shapes your destiny. So when you're surrounding yourself with friends, make sure they're like-minded, they're as positive as you are, they're looking to go to the same places, but obviously bearing in mind, I said don't just be narrow-minded. Look and learn from as many people as possible. But just remember that what you're thinking, what you're talking about, often comes to take place. Okay, so that power of positive thinking, it can happen one way or the other, but I certainly have seen it happening. I also grew up in an environment where we have grass outside. I see the guys playing out. There's not a lot of grass in India, unless you're at one of the main sporting venues, the cricket fields. So for me to dive around, very, very easy. I grew up, my son is 10 years old. I watch him. He does the same. We're playing tennis together on the beach, he doesn't want to get, my daughter is 14, she wants to break the record. She wants to rally for 100 shots, backwards and forwards, backwards. My son, after 10 shots, he's saying, Dad, hit it wider. Because he wants to dive and hit the backhand, or hit it wider, and he can dive and hit the forehand. I said, but we're not going to break the record. No, he doesn't want to break the record. He wants to dive. So we play football, back garden, I kick him 2 or 3 balls, then suddenly he's sliding and he's kicking it. He doesn't want to stand still. He wants to dive. But we have grass back at home. So Dr. Ram was showing me some of his injuries. We had a lot of those, but only after 15 or 20 dives. Yeah, you fall once on the ground. Very difficult to stand up again. In South Africa, we fall without any fear. And that freedom to not only fall, but to fail, I think was important for me. Because as a Mumbai Indian fielding coach, as I said, I don't look at who dropped the ball, who missed the ball. I look at the process. Freedom to fail is vital if you're going to succeed. None of us like to fail. We all have egos, whether you're here at the Institute or you're playing cricket for South Africa or for India or for Mumbai Indians. None of us like to fail because it's not good for our ego. And we all have an ego of sorts. So we don't want to take risks sometimes. We're quite happy to do what we know we're good at and just focus on down the line because we can get that done and people will be happy. But for me, freedom to fail is vital if you're going to succeed. You must be prepared to go learn from the mistakes that you make. Learn from the mistakes that other people are making. Go to the next level. Don't be afraid to fail. And I think the key for me was that if you see some of the pictures, my career highlights weren't statistics. Okay, I have a world record to my name, which I was told afterwards was a world record. I didn't even know. But the images and the highlights for me of my career are pictures that people with their cameras have taken of me, and those get splashed around the world, of diving for the ball. In the one picture I saw earlier, you can't even see the ball. I actually missed it. I dived, looked good, looked very good, but I missed the ball, which is fine. I dived for it. That freedom to fail for me allowed me to dive. I wasn't going to catch every ball, but at practice, I was doing exactly that. So I knew if I got close enough, there's a good chance that I could catch it. And I think that freedom to fail was something that was highlighted for me. In 2003, South Africa hosted the World Cup. The first match, we played against the West Indies. Brian Lara, he wasn't a bad batsman either, Dr. Ram. Ricky Ponting, Brian Lara, but Sachin, we're right. There is no argument. Not bad, the other guys, not bad at all. But Brian Lara, as he does sometimes, he scored 100 in the game against South Africa at the World Cup. We lost by 3 runs, which is just 1 shot away. And I'm sitting in the dressing room. My fingers, they're not so pretty. Some of them are a little bit strange because the cricket ball does hurt every now and again. And I'm sitting with my finger in a glass of ice because 3 days later, the finger's all swollen. 3 days later, we have another match. And I'm thinking, 4 runs. We lost by 3 runs. The reason why my finger's in ice, I've dived for a ball that Brian Lara has hit and has gone to the boundary. And it hit my fingertips, still gone for 4, which is the power that he had. And I'm thinking, if I had saved that ball, if I had been able to hit the ball in the palm of my hand and not the fingertips, because believe it or not, if you grab something hot, and this is not an experiment you must do at home. This is trained athletes and professionals here. What do they put in the adverts all the time? Don't try this at home. If you get something hot by mistake, your first reaction, your body actually grabs it, and then your brainwave just says, ow, hot, let go. But when you grab a cricket ball, you've got to train your brain that stinging is good. Stinging means hang on to it. Okay, so it's counter to what your brain is telling you. Brain is telling you, ouch, let go. You're telling brain, no, it's okay. That's what I want. I want the stinging sensation. So when it hits your fingertips and it doesn't stay, you get the pain and the stinging sensation without the reward of you've done the work. Okay, so I'm sitting in the dressing room, my finger's in ice, because 3 days' time there's another match. And as I said, I'm thinking, if I had saved that ball, we would have won the match. 1 save, 4 runs. We could have won the game. But 3, 5, 10 minutes went on. And eventually I said, okay, that's fine. Because now you're packing up your bags and you've got to move out the dressing room. You've got to face the public and sometimes the press, and they want to know about the match. So you can't have a down face because you've got to be positive. So at least I'm telling myself, well, I know I was diving full length, wasn't standing there. I dived full length, the ball clipped my fingers. There's nothing more that I could do, nothing more. I was in good position, the ball just was a good shot. Sometimes cricket players do that. They hit the ball past you. And for me, that freedom to fail was vital. You can imagine, I got in a team, 15 men, who some of them are still boys, as I am at 45, we're boys. We get many nicknames in the team. And some of them, because there's ladies here, I can't tell you what the nicknames were, but for a while, especially in India, I was known as the Indian Rubber Man. Indian Rubber Man. And nothing to do with MRF, nothing to do with promoting safe sex in India, nothing like that. Just because I bounced all the time. So when I dived, I would get up, as I said to Dr. Ram earlier. He's a tall man. If he falls, it's like a tree. It's like cutting a very old tree. Okay, it's going to be sore when he hits the ground. For me, it's a bounce. I'm shorter. It's easy for me to go left and right, hit the ground. But I also worked out that the longer you spend on the ground, the more time, the more skin you lose. Okay, so the more it burns. So I would get to my feet quickly because once I had the ball, that was only half the job. The other half was to throw down the wicket or to get the run out. So I realized I can't do that lying on the ground thinking, good save. I've got to get up, maybe take a wicket. So Indian Rubber Man was my nickname. But my teammates, they were quite rude, my teammates. Because they would say, Jonty, that's a TV dive. Like that one you saw up there earlier. There's no ball in the picture. I've missed it. I've dived for the ball and I've missed it. But I get up and I'm bleeding. So my teammates go, TV dive, Jonty, TV dive. So what do you mean? You'll never get that. Never, ever. Ball's gone to the boundary, you'll never catch it. You're not even in the picture. Ball's there, you're there. Why are you doing that? So your mother can sit at home, your arms are bleeding. She's like, look at my boy, isn't he wonderful? Bleeding for the team. The other guys aren't even diving because they know the ground is rock hard. And here I am being a fool and diving around everywhere. So they accuse me of this TV dive. But like I said, that freedom to fail, I would rather dive and drop it or dive and miss it than sit there thinking, if I had dived, could I have stopped it? Every time I dived, I knew either can catch it or can't catch it because I've dived. And that's often the problem that we have. We don't want to fail. We don't want to take that next opportunity just in case we don't quite achieve what we set out. So it's much safer right here, not putting yourself on the line. So that freedom to fail for me was very, very important. Sorry, voila, joke on here. Two more things. As I said, my father is a teacher, a headmaster, and he still is a teacher. And fortunately in South Africa, as a teacher, you also, well, fortunately for me, as a teacher, you're also a sports master. So he grew up in a small community, no cricket was played. So he'd never played cricket before. He never played tennis before. He'd never played football. He grew up in a small Afrikaans-speaking community. They played rugby, and they were good at athletics. Fast. Small man, my father, very fast. So very good at those two sports. And it's interesting here for me, when I drive around India, certain parts of India, it's obviously not going to apply to you. You're on your way to bright and better things and amazing, incredible futures and opportunities. When you drive through rural India, you'll see a small boy, and he's sitting on his father's tractor, looking very comfortable. Like that's where he's going to be for the next 30 years of his life, driving a tractor. And not any other opportunity. That's what his family's been doing before the tractor came. They were in the agricultural land, they were farming. And that's what they're doing. I was up in Coorg, saw people picking coffee plantations, or not yet picking, but working through the coffee plantations. They've been there, generations have done that before them, that's what they will do. Fortunately for me, my father was involved in sport. It was a natural thing for me to be involved with sport. But as a teacher and as a sports coach, the one golden rule, and I'm very grateful to it, is that you'll often hear from, and it involves in any sport that you play, any work that you're doing, any cultural activities, whether it be music or anything else, Did you hear that practice makes perfect? Practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. My father taught me that practice makes perfect. It's only half the story. It's perfect practice that makes perfect. Okay, so you can't practice. Just an illustration. You can't, as a Mumbai Indian, stand in the field for 2 hours at my fielding practice and tell me, Jonty, thank you, that was good. Tomorrow I'm ready for the game. Because you might have been at practice, you might think you're at practice for half an hour, 2 hours, but you actually haven't performed anything. And I spoke about earlier, cricket's very much a habit. Thought process becomes action. In cricket, you also practice bad habits. So my fielding practice is 5 minutes. If there's one-on-one, because 5 minutes, their arms are sore, their fingers definitely are, their hands are sore, and their knees are now a bit bruised. But they've practiced like it's in a match. The intensity is like a match situation. Because I've made sure that they've practiced like they're in a game. And that was something my father brought to me as a youngster, and I'm very, very grateful for, because that's not something that you get taught often. You get taught practice makes perfect. But to be there for half an hour practicing, you can actually practice the wrong thing, because the players get tired, and it's natural for us to start taking shortcuts. The body is like that. It finds the easiest way to accomplish something. So for me, it was a case of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's over. They're doing it correct, move on to the next guy. Okay, so practice makes perfect, half the story. Perfect practice makes perfect. Practice like you play was something my father always said. Practice like you're playing a match. And finally, for me, and I really, this last lesson that I learned playing cricket, and it applies to every environment and to any culture in any country. And I think especially here in India, very similar to what situations we have in South Africa in a third world economy, but there's growth opportunities, there's great potential. But there's also various things that are highlighted that are, it might not be first-class infrastructure everywhere. What you have here, the institution you have, it certainly is first class. But not everything is that focused. Free education, free schooling, free health, not always possible in certain parts of South Africa. And the one thing that I learned was that too often, we as people kind of sit back and say, it's not my job, why should I get involved? And one run, is what I tell people, one run can make a difference. Just one run. I asked the Mumbai team when they're fielding, every guy saved me one run. Wicketkeeper included, so it's 11 runs. Many of the matches now come down to the last ball is bowled, team needing 3 to win or 2 to win. If every guy saved one run, those 11 runs can help the team win the game. And 2 experiences for me, or 3 experiences. 1999 World Cup. 99 World Cup, we tied the semi-final with Australia. Didn't lose the game, we tied it, but they went through to the final, better run rate. One more run. We needed one more run to go through to the final. 2003, South Africa hosted the World Cup. Not for very long. Not for very long. We were out before we even got to the playoff rounds. We tied with Sri Lanka in Durban. The rain came down, Duckworth Lewis, Mark Boucher was batting with Lance Klusener again, so Klusener was involved in 99 and 2003. The scores were tied. We thought that was a score that was needed to win the game. But I'd broken a finger by there, so I was replaced. That's my excuse anyway. I was not there during the game. I was back at home watching the rain fall, watching the game take place. So again, we tied the game with Sri Lanka. 1 point each. Instead of winning, we tied. We were out the tournament. One more run. That's all the team needed. One more run. Then South Africa played what has been called the greatest one-day game against Australia in Johannesburg. I'm now wearing a suit and a jacket. I'm working for Standard Bank. That's a sponsor of the one-day team. And it's my job to give the captain of the winning team of the series, either Ricky Ponting or Graham Smith, the trophy. So I'm obviously wanting to give it to Graham Smith, not Ricky Ponting. Anyway, South Africa go 2-0 up in the series. Yay. Australia come back 2-2. Oh dear, big trouble. The last match, Australia break a record. No team had ever scored 400 in a one-day game before at that stage. They scored 434. Australia are 8 hours ahead of South Africa. Everybody went to bed. It's very late at night, 2 o'clock in the morning. Game is over. Australia will win the series 3-2. South Africa have choked again. Anyway, what happens? Herschel Gibbs, 175. Graham Smith, 90 or 40 deliveries. Everybody walking to the crease just hits the ball, hits the ball, hits the ball. But we keep losing wickets, losing wickets. Mark Boucher is batting towards the end on 30, 40 runs. He's batting with an all-rounder called Andrew Hall. Get to the stage where, with 3 balls to go, South Africa need 4 runs to win. Oh, need 3 runs to win. Andrew Hall gets out, or hits a 4. Sorry, I need 5 runs to win. Andrew Hall hits a 4. He gets out. Mackay Ntini is the last batsman to come to the crease. Number 11 batsman. Okay, now in my playing days, which is probably the reason why no one remembers me as a batsman and more as a fielder, is that I was very good at edging the ball to third slip, second slip, which is useful in a one-day game. Okay, so if the opposing captain, I would inside edge to mid-wicket, outside. If I didn't know where the ball was going, how does the opposing captain set a field for me? It's impossible. Whereas Jacques Kallis hits the ball correctly, straight to the fielder, if they're bowling well. Me, outside edge, inside edge, run fast. 1, 2, come back. Mackay Ntini, we still need 2 runs to win. Mackay Ntini, he edges the ball. Brett Lee is facing, it's reverse swinging. The fastest man probably in world cricket. Mackay Ntini, he tells us afterwards, he glides the ball to third man. It's a reverse swinging Yorker. I said, Mackay, there's no ways you glided the ball. Number 11 batsman maybe bats 3 times a year. There's no ways you glided the ball to third man. That's your story, that's fine, you keep with it. But he scored 1 run, Mackay. Mark Boucher comes back on strike. Now we have to win the game. He hits the next ball for 4, South Africa win the series. Mackay Ntini hugs Mark Boucher, and Mackay has this bigger smile that his 1 run has helped the team win the game. Out of 438 runs were scored. And as the opening bowler for South Africa, I think he went for 92 runs in his 10 overs. So it's not a good day to office for Mackay Ntini. He is, at that stage, number 1 bowler in world cricket. He's gone for 92 in 10 overs. I think Clark from Australia, not captain, Stuart Clark, seamer, went for 100, world record. Anybody to go for in that day. Mackay Ntini's 1 run allowed Mark Boucher to get back on strike, hit the winning run. So with Herschel Gibbs' 175, Graham Smith's 90, Mark Boucher 40 not out, Mackay Ntini 1 run helped South Africa win the game. And I think too often we as individuals think, what is the point of me getting involved? It's the government's job. It's the director's job. It's the lecturer's job. It's the council's job. It's somebody else's job. Me getting involved is not going to happen or make a difference. You know, in India, there's 2 ways of seeing the same situation. It can be, I'm 1 in a billion people. What's the point? I'm only 1 in a billion. Or you can say, hey, I'm 1 in a billion. I am 1 in a billion. I can make a difference. And that's what I want to leave with you. You are 1 in a billion, and you can make a difference. I have seen 1 run make a huge difference. Thank you for your time. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.